Okay, and I will call to order this PVUS meeting for July 13th. And I'd like to recognize that this meeting is being held on the traditional and unceded territory of the Lillooet Nation. Any amendments to the agenda?
The only thing, should I mention that now? When we get to late new business or late business, yeah, like, I just want to talk about Gates Lake Park.
Okay, I think we've been, sure. Okay. Let's do a quick sound check. Yeah, Laura, you can hear us okay? Good. Okay, then agenda moved as presented, please. Director Mack, seconded by Director Ramsden. Any opposed? Motion carries. We have no opposed. We're going to go right on to our delegations. And we're going to talk about the farmers market. We got Nicole and Molly join us.
Hi, everyone.
It's going.
We're back running every Friday, the same sort of schedule, the months of June through October. Last year, we chose to shorten the duration of the market and put it 6 rather than 6:30. Now that a lot of the vendors use Square for cash processing, it wasn't a hard decision to make. The stats were quite obvious that there's very little sales happening after 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So short and sweet. Yeah, the market's been going well. Last season, we had record high number of farms that took part, local farms. I believe we had, what was it? There was 37 vendors and 13 of them were farm vendors, which is a huge percentage, probably one of the highest in BC. Unfortunately, we're not meeting that like record again this year. We had a few of them for various reasons not able to attend. We're actually having fewer vendors this year than we have in years for a variety of reasons. Just economics, short-staffed. That Sea to Sky Highway has definitely scared a few people away that were commuting from Squamish and Vancouver, because there's very few Fridays that there's not an accident on that road. So we had vendors that just couldn't make it to market more than once last year, or if they did get there, they were an hour or two late. So it's not a very efficient use of their time to sit in traffic and then to turn around and have to go back again. And the Duffy too is an increasingly problematic route. So I don't think we have anybody coming this year from Lillooet. One vendor from further north, but she commits to multiple markets through the Lower Mainland. So she makes the trip regardless, but she's been an hour late twice this year, just because of road conditions and accidents. And so that's definitely, I think that's really affecting our vendors. Crazy weather as usual. We had, we took part once again in the BC nutrition program last year that's put out by the BC Ministry of Health. And we had a great rate of use of the coupons. I was just looking for the numbers and I can't find them, but it was over 90% of the coupons that were handed out in the community to families with young children and seniors. Was over $12,000 that it brought in directly for fresh fruit, meat, produce, honey that was bought at the market. So that's a really great program. It gets people to market and puts fresh fruit in families' fridges. That's an excellent program for the market. And this does hundreds of markets now across BC take part in the program. Doing a few new things this year. We've got a new logo updated. It's suspiciously similar to the old one. We were using the logo for the
Pemberton
Farmers
Institute that was designed by Lisa and
So it has a line drawing of a woman, probably a woman on a tractor. So we have a new one with the barn that Lisa Sumari.
I know about Ankeny. Anyway,
Yeah, there we go.
go.
Lisa was kind enough to generate for us.
We tried to keep it similar in theme so that it looked related, because I didn't want to disassociate us from the Farmers Institute, but I always felt like we needed our own brand. and I wanted the barn so long. And I was out there staining that wood. So I wanted to make sure that the barn was featured in it. And that's one of the things that any tourist that comes to town remarks on is how amazing the barn is. So that is like one of the, amazing things for us is having that barn.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and a new board. We have a few, well, I never was on the board, but I'm on the board and we have a new member, Matt Schmidt, who is just a member of the community. And we have Olivia and Riley, who are vendors at the market. And we might be seeking out another one as well. But so relatively new board.
Through COVID, the board sort of didn't happen.
Yeah, there were
A lot of things didn't happen.
Through COVID, everything was a bit of a challenge, I think. So, in fact, I was just looking at it and I was looking back to the last strategic plan that we had finished in 2020. So I was like, time for a new one. But so that is one of the things that's on our big agenda this summer, going into the fall is create a strategic plan going forward and looking at what that means, what we are especially coming out of COVID, how do we survive and what are we looking at for the future? So that's on our big agenda item, really. Everything seems to hinge on that. In our meetings, everyone like, should we advertise? Well, strategic plan. And then, so that's kind of on our agenda for this summer. Yeah.
Awesome.
But.
So do you want to have any questions?
So you can jump in there, Laura, just jump in if you want. I'm really curious about the 6 p.m. how sales, like it just, one of the great things about the farmers market is the social, right? Like it's just, I've noticed the vendors are down a little bit.
Yeah.
But the atmosphere is what it always is, right? It's just an awesome community evening. And it just always surprises me that people coming home late from work and obviously your numbers tell the tale.
They don't, they don't come.
It's always just the vendors wandering around chatting.
I mean,
You see any business
seven.
after 6, that's the vendors going, hey, can I grab my lettuce now? Or, right, it tends to be that you get like 1 or 2 running in at the last minute, but like in the fall, it gets really cold. It's almost like there's nothing going on after 6 in October, and we go right through to the end of October now. I guess it's
every week, like it's very busy when we start and you see it sort of dips at 4, dips again at 5, 5:30, and then from 5:30 till 6 even, there's very few
sharing numbers tell the tale.
people.
Just counterintuitive to me that. So was it $12,000 worth of product that was sold with
just those coupons.
Just those coupons.
That's just the coupon
So
program.
They get a sheet of 5 $3 coupons to spend weekly. I think it's a 16-week program or a 22-week market. So they start passing them out mid-June, and they've got until the market's over. I mean, they can spend them at any BC market or BC farmers market that accepts the coupons, so they can certainly use them in Whistler or Squamish, but the idea being
a big number.
It is, yeah. And it's some of them save them up and then they'll do like a big purchase of like a big bag of carrots and in October just before the end of the season or something like that. And the vendors often work with that as well. And in fact, I think Elmer's always packages their things in
like a $3
bag, so you can grab a bag of potatoes and carrots and it especially for them because they also do other markets, so it makes it reasonable for them to do. But yeah, it does do really well for the markets. It's important.
Michelle Clowie she's got her horse.
Of course, I know,
So I always ask her, how'd the market go? And 2 Fridays ago, she said that was the best market she's ever had. So that's really that's good. That's amazing.
There was only 3 farmers there that week.
But
they're doing great.
She obviously
there was no produce. But
more money than she's ever. But produce wise, I stopped by the Goat Mountain. I'm so happy that's back. It's a good drive up there, check everything out. And then get some vegetables.
They're going to come to the market 4 or 5 times through the summer.
Yeah, so we've had nice Yukon potatoes and beets and
And beat new
Yeah.
potatoes.
peas and all that stuff. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a wonderful time of year. So good for you guys.
Spray Creek's not going down?
Spray Creek.
Spray Creek, isn't that the salt?
Spray, no,
No,
not for a number of years.
they stopped a few years back, yeah,
It's
it's
partnered
really,
with Plenty Wild and they do bring product into town every week. And you can buy from their online store through the Plenty Wild,
Yeah.
pick them up Wednesdays.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think for us, one of the challenges is always the amount of sales you get versus the amount of setup time and profit you make, right? So it really is a balance. I'm always like, I've had people come to me and say, there's not very many vendors. And then on the other side, I'm like, that's because there's not very many customers. So it's this constant balance of trying to figure out how to get more customers in, and that hasn't ever changed. It's always been the same, right? How do you get more customers in to support the vendors, and how do you make it, but then you can't invite vendors in if they're not gonna make money.
Yeah.
And so trying to, and that's something that, on our looking forward is, in terms of viability, we want to try and make sure that we're working for the vendors, really, that it's affordable for them. And most of the people that come to the market say they like this market in terms of the community that comes in, but it's, the amount of time to set up and then sell, and then, especially if you don't have a lot of workers, which is one of the other issues that
That's a big issue
a lot of
for
people
people,
have been
is
having
just
is getting
staff
someone to
shortage.
staff a market. Well, they're, how much are they gonna make staffing a market once a week, right? So it's a bit of a challenge. So that's, I think, on our agenda too, is how do we, how do we make that work how do we get more customers in? Do we want to make it more, in the past, during COVID, we couldn't, but in the past, we tried to put a lot more events on so that there was a lot more things going on, that you come down for the market and something else, or something else and the market, right? But again, it's also one of those things, is how much work do we need to put in? So there's a little bit of study doing, and thankfully the Farmers Market Association is coming up to do a impact study and help us also guide us on what are our customers, and are they predominantly locals? Are they sea to sky? Are they tourists? Or is it a combination of all, which it might be? In which case, how do we market to all of them and support and, provide for all of them, Because I think, for example, if we had a lot more food vendors, like a street
taco
food,
truck?
no, I think if you had something like that, the whole evening thing you could extend if you made it, let's make it food market, but then, is that realistic? I don't know, so.
Especially in the summer, people that live here, they race in, grab a few things, and they're gone. They're gone for the weekend. They're gone to their cabin. They're gone
That's a
to
big one.
Gun Lake, Birkenhead, right? It's an exodus.
Yeah.
No, you're
So the
right about that.
tourists that are there are they're here for a wedding, or they're camping at that campground just outside of town, or they're on their way to Birkenhead. So we do get a lot of people just coming through on the weekend,
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
but the local people are not there after 5.
But
I see that.
yeah, but the thing is that, again, the big thing is that because we're in the barn, it has that community feel,
Mhm.
and that's what people really like about it. So we get a lot of people come up from Whistler just because they prefer coming to our market, because it feels like a community market, right? It feels more hometown kind of.
You can park right beside it.
Exactly.
Thanks to both of you for
Yeah.
years of work into it now for you, and it's still Friday nights or Friday afternoon. It's great seeing. It's so awesome. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out.
Wow. Okay.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
You have to have? I'll hang out, okay, I don't have to go back to work. You do that.
Okay, next up, we have Martine Welberg from the Permanent Child Care Society. All right. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, so we're I'm going to talk about the grant for the Christmas Bazaar that's funded a big fundraiser for the Child Care Society every year. It's actually our biggest fundraiser to be able to support the Children's Center, which is, you know, a big part of this community and definitely needed for all the family and kids and whatnot. Last year, 2022. December 2022 was our biggest fundraiser to date. We actually managed to meet our budget. And by that, sorry, not our budget, but our goals of fundings. We actually, for the first time ever, met our funding goals, which is amazing. That will support a lot of our financial expenditure over this fiscal year, which is good. Hopefully this year coming up is going to be twice as good, as we have a whole lot more of the expansion to cover and whatnot, right? Yeah, we were planning on obviously spending a certain amount, which we asked for funding for, and we spent a bit more than that to support the event. But in all fairness, we managed to fund such a great amount that it helped. We had more vendors. Yeah, we would love to have a bigger space, but we also have to work with what we have. So we can't crowd any more than what we have. We just need to really find a way to make it even more, I don't know, find a better flow to maybe able to get more out of it next year. But that's what happens from now.
Thank you. Yeah, it was pretty packed in there.
It was very packed in there last year.
It was
Yeah,
crazy.
definitely. Yeah.
Any thought of doing like 2 days or something like that, spread it out, or?
We haven't talked about 2 days. We just talked about a different layout and utilizing the hallway a bit more. I think that there's a few things. It's like we need to try to manage the entryways so people donate more voluntarily as well. And there's less, because there's always, we try to guide them to one door and one door only, but if you have 3 entrance to the community center and, you know, people will go wherever and walk in. Spreading it over 2 days wouldn't be bad. What we're thinking of is to maybe extend it onto the patio and have vendors outside. So if you have like, we're trying to maybe get with a team to do a barbecue, to get all the wreaths and Christmas trees outside and have like expanding in that sense where we have now a whole like other layer to the funding, like to the Christmas Bazaar. So instead of being just trinkets and gifts and whatnot, then you have actually all of your Christmas needs. Yeah, so we're kind of still working on it and getting people to maybe meet us and join us in that matter. But a lot of them are like, well, talk to us in a few months in the fall and then we'll see. So we'll see how it's going to shape up, but we're definitely trying hard to make it bigger. Whether it's like we also had it last year, a silent auction, which worked for us. It did not work to the extent that we wished for. So we're hoping to put a little bit more energy into it as well and advertising it better, having maybe bigger items to actually bid on and whatnot. Yeah, reach out in that sense as well. So we'll see how it's going to shape. There's a few months yet to come to shape it up. Yeah.
Dr. Mack?
No, I'm good. Just, yeah. Good programs.
It is definitely, it's needed in this community, right? It's like,
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. We've enjoyed supporting you in the past year and it's a great event. So thanks for.
thank you guys.
Okay, anybody want anything out of the consent agenda? None move to presented. Dr. Mack, seconded by Director Ramsden, is opposed, motion carries. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, with the 8.1 SLRD CEO video report, Mr. Dalton.
Nothing at this time, Chair.
EOP,
Nothing is going to change.
8.3, request for decision recreation service report SLRD Pemberton and District Recreation Service Fees and Charges by Law. Come on up.
That is helpful for you as well.
It is. I'm not gonna say that twice.
I've recited it a few times and I still have a mouthful of marbles, so we'll do our best here today. So I'm presenting on behalf of the Recreation Department in the absence of Christine Burns. As you said, I'm presenting the request for a decision for the new fees and charges bylaw. So the purpose of this report is to seek your consideration and support of the fees and charges amendment, adjusting the existing fees and other charges for the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District and Pemberton District Recreation Service to reflect costs and service levels more accurately and recommend bylaw 1820 2023 cited as Squamish-Lillooet Regional District, Pemberton and District Recreation Service Fees Charges bylaw number 182023 be considered by the Board of Directors for readings and adoptions. So as you guys are all aware, and probably more so than I am, these fees and charges are reviewed basically year after year. This year that we've found that in the post-COVID-19 climate, operations have continued to increase, and this includes an increase in wages, inflation resulting in increased contractor expenses and elevated consumer price index. And as such, we're recommending that the fees and charges for 2023-2024 be increased by 3% overall with an effective start date of September 1st, 2023. The terms of use and general conditions are attached to Schedule A, and all proposed fees are listed in attached Schedule B, which are both attached to this report, Appendix A. Some of the main things that are outside of that include rounding all of our fees to the nearest quarter dollar for the use of marketing and accounting. One of the other changes that's notable is user definitions have been altered to reflect an infant category of 0 to 4, child 5 to 12, and adult being 19 to 49 years, with the new seniors age group 50 plus to be more congruent with the programs and services we're offering. In addition, there's some Den-Duff Park booking fees that I guess came up in the 2022 PVUS committee requesting staff to investigate rental fees for the new soccer fields at Den-Duff Park. So in Appendix B, you'll see a fee and charges bylaw amendment for this area. With bylaw number 905/2021 amendment for special events, parks and public spaces and airport, and bylaw number 942/2023 Schedule M shows fees applied to bookings at Den-Duff Park starting in 2024. From there, I guess it's the recommendation that bylaw number 182023 cited as Squamish-Lillooet Regional District, Pemberton and District Recreation Service Fees and Charges bylaw number 182023 be introduced, read a first, second, and third time, and that bylaw number 182023 cited as Squamish-Lillooet Regional District, Pemberton and District Recreation Service Fees and Charges bylaw number 182023 be adopted.
Any questions?
No, I'm good with that. I'll move that if you like.
Director Ramsden, you all get them? Okay. Seconded by Director Ramsden. I'll support the motion. I think the fee is actually 3%, considering the increases that we're facing all across the board. That's really quite reasonable. So
Yeah.
kudos to you guys for keeping it tight and call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. And that's for first, second, and third reading. And now we want to set the motion for adoption, or we can do it. Oh, perfect. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
And while we have you live, thanks again for your efforts on Canada Day. That
It was really great to see everything come together the way it did. It was the busiest and most congested I've seen that barn, and it was really great to see the whole community kind of funnel into it and enjoy their day. So happy that it went as well as it did, and happy that you yourself saw that as well.
That's exactly what I saw. So thanks for your efforts.
Are you going to stick around?
If you have some questions
Yeah,
regarding engagement,
please.
I'll stick around. For sure.
Okay, thank you.
Is that all you're sticking around for? Could we move that up?
Yeah, I could if you want.
We're gonna be driving.
Yeah, I guess my questions, I met with the,
Hang on a second, Russell, just for. For a second. There's Nathan, yes. All right, you're hanging around, sticking around. Sit down for a second.
Sit back.
Yes, you know what, I know, I'm gonna get, we're gonna do a couple of quick items first. Shouldn't take long though.
No worries.
So we're on 8.4, the PDIF recipient reports. And then,
Good afternoon. So Philippa Campbell, Project and Program Coordinator for BSLRD, just here for a couple of reports on the District Administrative Fund. 8.4 is information report, and we're presenting the written reports for the two organizations who just attended as delegations, so the Permanent Farmers Market Association and the Permanent Childcare Society. And these are just for the board's review, committee's review.
any questions or comments?
No.
Would you like to move receipt of that then? Move receipt, Director
Yes.
Max, second by Director Ramsden, any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. So 8.5, Chairman.
Mhm.
Item 8.5 is report, request for decision, and this is regarding two renewal requests for the Permanent and District Initiative Fund. I just want to say from the top, my apologies, there is an error in the recommendation. The value for the funding agreement for the Permanent Canoe Association should be $5,500, not $6,000. My apologies to the committee. I'll just say that off the bat so that we have that that edit will be needed to be taken into account. So briefly, long-term agreements, some long-term agreements for the Permanent District Initiative Fund have a renewal clause, and they can be provided for a 3-year term with up to 2 1-year renewals, the maximum term of 5 years. We had a couple of recipients finishing up 3-year terms this year, and 2 have presented requests for renewal. And so these renewals are for the same value and for the same purpose as stated in the original application. And they have the letters attached to this report for request, as are the original applications. Staff reviewed, they appear to be, the terms appear to be correct. The 2024 budget can support these requests. And we're looking to the committee to make a recommendation here to the board if this is something they wish to go ahead with. This is a new process. We haven't seen this come through Permanent District Initiative Fund yet. This is the first time. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Oh, I'm good. Okay, would you like to move the recommendations then?
yeah, I'll move option 1.
Okay, seconded by Director Ramsden. Any opposed? Motion carries. And 8.6.
Thank you, Chair. So this is third report, also referring to the Permanent and District Initiative Fund. We have here today some amendments to the policy, and the policy is used, provides guidance on applying to and administering the fund. Within the report, there's a table that summarizes the amendments, just to use as a guide as we step through this today. And again, I have noticed an error here, my apologies. There is no number 5, it's just 1 to 4 and number 6. There's nothing missing, it was just a numbering error. So again, my apologies. So the driving reason this is coming back is to include information on the fee waiver process, which has been to this committee a couple of times. Last meeting, we reviewed the process and we found that you were in agreement with that. So these policy amendments, number 1 in that table are to support that change, and it will allow us to communicate out to it will both give us the ability to manage fee waiver process at the staff level, as well as provide communication, the opportunity to communicate to people how they can take advantage of this process. So just to be clear, the recommendations for this report, the first one is for the policy amendments, and the second 2 for the committee to consider allocating an amount for these fee waivers out of the budget for 2023. So I wanted to just pause here and say, Chair, did you want to talk about that particular process now, or would you like me to step through the rest of the amendments?
Let's talk about that process now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's no problem. So really just want to know if you're happy with the, this is basically the process that you've agreed to, and are you happy with the allocated amount being recommended to the board? And for clarity, that means that staff will be able to manage this process without bringing that back to this committee within that allocated budget amount. And that's just for the end of 2023. We can sort of review in the next budget process. Like, is this appropriate? Are we seeing any challenges with this process? And what from there?
And I guess my question would be, and pretty much the same question last time, with these amendments, is this moving in a direction, you spend a considerable amount of your time working on this fund. Is this taking you in a direction where it streamlines it a little bit? Is it making it easier? Do you feel as the one that's in charge of this, that we're going the right direction then?
So for the fee waiver process, we have, as the committee said, that was something that they'd like to do. These are the steps that we need to take to make it as streamlined as possible, and sort of allow for fee waiver requests which are anticipated to be smaller value to happen without needing sort of regular oversight from the committee, and sort of providing that to staff to manage at the staff level, while still providing that opportunity to recipients to continue that that part of the program. And I'm happy to speak. So I'm again just sticking with the fee waiver process piece there. That's my answer for that one, and I'm happy to speak to the other amendments as if we're ready to move on to that.
Do you have anything?
I will move option 1, the preferred option, approves recommendations as presented.
Okay, I think did you want to speak to it a little more first?
I'm happy to, yeah, if we're happy with the fee waiver process and the allocated amounts. Okay, thank you. We have a couple of additional amendments here. 2 and 3 are really housekeeping. So they're updating the wording to reflect our current processes as they have been since the fund was put in place, and making sure there's clarity on some of the wording and the eligibility. So moving the information on the community enhancement fund up to the eligibility section, and just making sure we have the wording clear for organizations that are already receiving annual funding. So these are housekeeping updates. They're less to do with changing process as they are as just clarifying our current process. For amendments in the table labeled 4 and 6, these are, we've taken the opportunity to include these additional amendments, which are changes to PROFESS. So we're basically removing the requirement for some organizations to attend and present to some funding type, one of which is applications for your one-time requests. So those are, for all funding requests that are below $5,000, an applicant would have to still fill in the quite detailed application, which is attached to the policy, and that application would come to PVUS, but they would not be required to present if it was $5,000 or below. So this is something that's, in alignment with other funding requests that we might see through the SLRD. And that would mean, for example, Permanent Childcare Society would not have to come to request, to present to request for their, if they had the same funding requests as they did last year. So that's number 4. And that is for both the application and the final report. Number 6 is removing presentation requirements for long-term and seed funding if they're below $12,000, which is the maximum amount you can request through the long-term funding. So this is just for reports. This means someone looking for long-term funding, if they wanted to apply, they would need to submit an application. They would need to present to PVUS. If they were granted, say, a 3-year term, they would still have to submit progress reports, written progress reports. And again, we have quite a detailed reporting form as you've seen today, and it's attached to the application, but they wouldn't have to come and present for those progress reports. They would still come and give you a final report at the end. What we've noticed is that the presentations do take up a certain amount of administration time, and they're also impacting the recipient's time. Some of these organizations are majority volunteer-led. The timing of the meeting doesn't always work out. And so we're just taking a look at those observations and saying, how can we remove requirements that might be surplus or, over and above what we need? If we're already getting a very detailed written report, is a presentation something that we also need? So these have been brought forward because they're easy to implement. They can have an immediate impact on the sort of time that we're spending on the fund. They're not intended to replace, a review of the program. And, we are at the sort of time in the cycle where we might be seeing some value in a full review. So we're not trying to replace that. We're just looking at making some changes to clear a little space for that type of work as well. So I'm happy to take any questions on those.
Thank you.
So that, all this here will kind of smooth the process of it too, without people having to come and make presentations all the time. Just put their paperwork in and comes here, we approve it. So that shortens the process up.
Well, I think we should still make Molly come, but everybody else doesn't have to come. Dr. Ramsden, did you have any thoughts, comments? Not good?
No, seems good.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to me. The revisions make sense to me, for the reason we stated. I do enjoy when people come and the interaction between the groups, and if they want the option to, and they can certainly come present, but I see how it's hard for people with full-time jobs to be able to come on a Thursday afternoon and be able to do it, and it's hard on your staff time as well. So I support where you're taking us. It's good. Okay, with that, I'll say, did you have anything to add, or?
No, if we're happy, then I think everything is as written in the recommendations. Go ahead.
I'm going to move option 1, then Director Mack.
Yes.
Second by Director Ramsden. Any opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Campbell.
Thank you.
So we're on 8.7 is an information report on Riverside wetlands. Hudson, help me out how we say it.
Riverside Skim.
Skim M?
Yeah.
Park update. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. So this information report just outlines the successful tenure that we received from the province this year after having applied in, I believe it was 2018. And in fact, the first application for this piece of, which is the bathtub trail location adjacent to our existing Riverside Skim Community Park. The first application was in 2002 by the SLRD, so this one has been quite a while in coming. I think it's the 4th application. It's a joint tenure, license of occupation. SLRD and Lillooet Nation are the co-signees on the tenure. And we already have a joint parks plan that we developed for the Riverside Skim Park, and this parks plan is attached to the tenure as our procedures going forward. So we will work with Lillooet Nation this fall to look at the parks plan and work on an agreement, sort of a co-management agreement, and then in 2024 we'll begin work on the park. It's the 4 purposes of the park are conservation, recreation, education, and a preservation of Lillooet Nation cultural sites and activities in the area. So it's going to be minimal changes to the existing park. It's more of a conservation type facility, but we'll be putting up signs and keeping it clean and tidy.
Yeah. Congratulations. That's kind of good. A lot of making. Thoughts?
No, I think it's wonderful. Great. It's amazing how long it takes to do everything, but other than that.
Yeah, that's gonna be good. Congratulations. Thanks for that. I'll let for motion to receive, please. Director Mack, second by Director Ramsden. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
So decision on late business. So you, we have to get a motion. You're gonna make a motion to add in late business.
Yes.
On Gates Lake Park. Moved by Director Mack, second by Director Ramsden. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're gonna go to late business. Director Mack.
So, a couple of, well, 3 weeks ago, I guess, I met with the Burke and Rec and Cultural Association. Just to go over their thoughts, and they've got a new president who's a very dynamic individual. Her name's Patty Kirkpatrick. She's fun to deal with, work with, whatever. But anyways, they got a good group of people. But anyways, sitting at the park, we were talking there under the covered area and looking around, I just thought, I don't know who does our maintenance there now, lawn maintenance, all that kind of stuff. But it was horrible. I mean, that's the nicest way I can put it. And I look up in the big fir trees, we get some pretty good winds through there. And there's a lot of broken branches, like, you know, say 3 inches to 4 or 5 inches, big stuff. And we used to always have Garibaldi Tree Service go in there and just tune them up whenever needed, really. Because if somebody gets hit with one of those branches, it's going to be serious, right? So that and the washroom cleanliness, maintenance, they've been going and putting toilet paper in there as needed, because lots of times there's no toilet paper in there. Yeah, just what they would like to do is come to PVUS and just kind of make a presentation about how they would like to be more involved with the park, whether that be helping with picking up the garbage, or, you know, they would have people do that. So anyways, there's just, they want to have a discussion about that. So, but do we use a contractor to do the lawn maintenance and all that now?
Yeah, we have a contractor that's out typically on Tuesdays or Wednesdays to do grass cutting, and then heading into long weekends, typically doing one more pass before the long weekend.
Because like I say, it's horrible. They had picked up a bunch of those bigger branches that had come down.
Right.
And there's a fire pit there. Well, they piled all the branches just off from the fire pit, but then the grass had all grown up through the branches, and it just looked terrible. So anyways.
No,
So, I mean, I've noticed those logs there. I don't know how often people are actually using the fire pit. I think the hope
Well,
is
right
that-
now they're not.
Right now, exactly. Not now,
Yeah.
but in any other time. The intention, I think, was that they were stacked and that they would be used at the beginning of the year, and then that never happened. So there's efficiencies, I think, that could be made out there as to if we are using any deadfall for fires, if people are coming there to use it, that we're finding a place that's better to store it.
Yeah, and cut the branches
and-
into 2 foot lengths instead of,
And I'm out there twice a week when I have time permitting.
Yeah.
Over the course of Canada Day, I was pulled away from being out there as often as I would like to be, but I've been out there twice this week because I've had concerns about garbage collection, where every time I've gone and done the garbages, I'm just changing garbages. There's not much litter out there. So it's clear that with the visitation that we're seeing out there, being that there's 4 to 8 cars in the parking lot every time I've been by, that the park is heavily used. And I think that it's being more heavily used even recently than last year, with
more and more all the time.
Rainbow Park being closed in Whistler. People are at 1 mile all the time now. Just park visitation is up in general. So there are things that we need to potentially revisit to get more eyes on the property more often. But with respect to the wood that's there, when I'll go out tomorrow and I'll put that in the bush, but if we can work with the Burke and Rec Society to come up with some sort of efficiencies for how that's being stored, or if we're closing off the fire pit. so
Yeah,
that people aren't
even do
parking
the,
in fire
the garbage pickup and maybe even look after the washroom, the outhouse.
Well, and that's the one that I'm there twice a week. I do a clean and restock,
Yeah.
but there's
Well, there's
no
a
place
lot
for
of
me to
people,
put anything
a lot
there to get. There's no public storage of toilet paper, so if it runs out, it runs out in that
Yeah.
time, because.
Well, if we stored it, could you store it in the shed? Is that what you do?
I don't store anything in that shed.
No.
No, that's all, as far as I'm aware, property of
Burke and Rec.
Burke and Rec.
Yeah, well, so maybe it would be a good idea if those folks did have a meeting with yourself
Mhm.
and see how they can help you.
If I may,
Yep.
through the chair, this is actually something that we've talked about in joint SLRD in village meetings in terms of just the inefficiency of sending someone out there from the village 2 hours round trip a couple of times a week. I think that this would be a really welcome potential solution for better consistent care and upkeep of the park.
And I really think that those people want to be, they're keen to be involved in their park sort of thing. I mean, it's for everybody. And like I go by there almost daily and it's amazing the amount of people that are there. And not only parking there, but parking just down on CN rail property. And I had a comment, he said, oh, we should talk to CN about, I said, no, we're not going near CN. Just let the people park there, and if they want to move them, they'll move them. But we're not going to go and ask for permission to park there. Forget that deal. But no, it's getting really well used, and yeah, so anyways, I'll pass on to Patty Kirkpatrick and get her to, I'll get your contact information. She can, then you guys can
Yeah.
get together and they've got quite a crew of people out there, that are doing trail stuff and all that. So, yeah, I think it would be really good. And it gives them more of a sense of ownership, or,
I think
keep it nice and tidy.
I think someone had reached out to me when I started out here, saying that they had some money set aside as well for cladding the outside of that storage shed.
Yeah,
Which,
Danny
if we're-
Schranz.
if we're gonna be storing any paper products out
Yeah.
there, that needs to get done,
Yeah, yeah.
because I've opened that building and something's been living in it.
Oh, yeah.
So.
There's lots of critters out in the
That
country.
would be welcome.
Yeah. And like I've said too, to them, and I'm more than willing to put Area C select funds, amenity funds to, keep the upgrade of that park over and above our budget, because it's extremely well used. And that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
yeah,
Thank you, sir.
Sounds good.
but I'll.
I have your email, so I.
Oh, just send me,
just send
okay,
you an
cool.
email and
Yeah.
we'll go from there.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks, Russell.
Right on. Thanks.
Director's notice of motion. Motion to adjourn, please. Russell, second by Laura, any opposed?